I believe
Holy
there
Jesus,
she
we got
is.
it. I'm like, holy Jesus, we got it done.
Well, you have been inaugurated into the Instagram Live world.
So sorry for the delay. I can negotiate a deal. I can help world leaders, but when it comes to Instagram Live, I'm out of my league
Well,
sometimes.
you just did it. You just did it. Bravo to you. Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. Buenos dias, buenos noches, bonsoir. We are on live with my special guest, Denise White. Again, if you are a woman who competes in pageants, I encourage you to invite a friend who also competes in pageants or who is considering competing in pageants. You don't want to miss this conversation. If you are a pageant veteran, grab a chair, get some tea, and share the live. Well, here she is, Denise White. She is, okay, and for lack of a better word, um, she's amazing. She is a pageant coach for the Miss USA system, for the Miss Universe system. She is also a former pageant queen. And most importantly, she is also a PR marketing expert, and she is the founder and the CEO of her own sports management and PR firm. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to correct, I'm not a pageant coach, but however, I have judged the system. I was Miss Oregon USA in 1994. I stepped away from the pageant world for a couple decades and then was asked back to judge teen, and subsequently 2018, I judged Miss USA. And then this past year, I just judged Miss Universe. But thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
Well, you are welcome. Thank you for the clarification. So you were Miss USA Oregon, correct?
Oregon USA way back 1994.
Right. And you left the pageant and then you became a pageant judge. And I believe you were a pageant judge for the Miss Universe organization.
Yes, just this past a couple months ago, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Just this past 2023.
Okay, well, I know you're very busy. And again, thank you for accepting my invitation. I specifically wanted to have this conversation with you because I know you are familiar with the Miss Universe organization. You were a judge, and some news came out. There was a leaked video alleging conversations about inclusivity and diversity, and so many allegations. The organization released a statement as well. And I wanted to have a conversation with someone who was familiar with the organization. So have you seen that video?
Yes, I have seen the video. So,
seeing the video, what went through your mind when you saw that video?
Okay, I'm going to unpack a lot right now.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, before we start, I just want to let everyone know that's viewing this. This is my personal opinion and my personal experience. I'm not speaking for any other judge that has judged when I have judged. This is my truth, my voice, and are my views. So I just wanted to clear that up. I was asked to be a judge for Miss Universe this past year. And prior to that, as I said earlier, I was a judge in the Miss USA 2018 and also the Miss Teen USA prior to that. And my experiences, and these are my experiences in the system, have been nothing but above board, have been almost to the point of militant when we have judged under the leadership of Paula Shugart and also Amy Emmerich. The way that, first of all, when you're asked to judge, you give up your time, right? We are not paid. We're not paid. We give up our time, our week. Usually, if you're going to judge the prelims and the finals, you give up a week of your time, fly out to wherever it may be to be a judge and give your time to these young ladies to hopefully select the gal that's going to now, not hopefully, but select the gal that's now going to represent Miss Teen USA, Miss USA, or Miss Universe for the next 12 months. And in doing so, we are brought into the city or the country. I just did Miss Universe, so we were brought into El Salvador. We are whisked off away to a private hotel that contestants are not at. We are told, I was told, we were as a group were told by Paula that if anybody tries to approach us, whether it be a contestant or it be a family member, and she even asked us if any of the ownership of Miss Universe tried to contact us in any way, to please let them know.
Okay.
So we were told under no circumstances to have communication with anyone. We were also told not to communicate with each other regarding how we are judging, who are we judging for, and so on. And they are very strict about that. When we are in group settings, we're not allowed to discuss the contestants. We are not allowed to compare notes. We're not allowed to do any of that. And I joke about it a little bit, but it is on the verge of almost being militant, because they are so emphatic about, above board. Everything's above board. There's no chance that there has been any misconduct or these girls didn't have a fighting chance at Miss Universe or Miss USA or the team that I judged that was not above board and was not 110% authentic to the rules and the regulations.
Okay.
And that these girls have entered into the program for, right? The only time that we ever sit down and discuss as a group is both at Miss USA and Miss Universe, there were ties and after prelims. And so we were pulled into a room at Miss Universe. I'll give my experience at just Miss Universe. We were whisked away really quickly into a room after Ernst & Young, by the way, top-notch, account firm.
So it's a real accounting firm, is what you're saying.
Oh my goodness, it's world known. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Because I was told about accounting firms before when it comes to pageantry, just to find out that there really isn't an accounting firm. That is the owners backstage doing their thing.
And as a matter of fact, the guy from Ernst & Young, who I just adored, he was even very to the book, dot your I's, cross your T's, sign your name. We want to know who judged what and who did this and who did that, and making sure that, once we turned our tallies in, we didn't get to go back and figure something out if we missed anything. When you're sitting at the judges table, you have a certain amount of time to get those scores in. If you don't get those scores in, they don't count. So you're really on top of everything. But Ernst & Young was really on top of everything. There's no doubt in my mind, the only time that I wanted to go back to, the only time that we're even able to discuss the contestants amongst ourselves was when there was a tie. And there was actually quite a few ties, little ones, for after prelims for both the Miss USA that I judged and the Miss Universe that I judged. And so we discussed those ties, and there's a 4-way tie, there's a 3-way tie, there's a then we vote again, and then we vote again until there is no more ties. So, but that's really what I really wanted to express today, and why I got on with you, Cynthia, is under Paula Schugert's realm, or helm, or whatever, not realm, but helm, excuse me, under her leadership, she ran a program and an organization that was top-notch, 110%, above board. I can't speak to the future, and we'll unpack that video in a minute. I can't speak to the future or to who's running the organizations now, whether it's who's running Miss USA or who's running Miss Universe. But I can speak to what has been in the past. And from my experience judging this past Miss Universe to the past 2 other opportunities that I had to judge, were amazing experiences. I just want to show you something. The girl that won Miss Universe was my girl. There's no 2 ways about it, right? Like when she walked up to me, Nicaragua, when she walked up to me, I just want to show you guys this. We were given books and we had to make little notes, and these were my notes. Universe, 3 stars, right? That was my notes the minute she walked up to me and I don't mind sharing that. And the minute she walked up to me in interview, and I feel like if you've judged before, and maybe even if you haven't, you get a sense of someone who just owns the room, someone that walks up to you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. Now she has to transcend from interview to the stage, right? She's got to be the whole package. She can't just be a great interview. She's got to be the whole package, right? She's a brand ambassador. She's someone speaking out for the organization. By the way, Denise has done an amazing job thus far. I follow her on Instagram. But she's got to be the whole package.
Okay.
So when you're judging for someone, they've got to be the whole package. But the minute she came in to the room, it was just a different type of energy, right?
So, so you walked us through the experience of being a judge, your experience of being a judge for Miss Universe. Again,
I'm sorry, one more thing about that. I've got a lot to unpack, and I said I'm going to do it all. One of the other things that we were told as judges, and I think anybody watching this will understand, is um, uh, don't get lured in by the sash factor. And what that means is this, and we're told as judges, and we're explained to that. And what the sash factor is when you look at, let's say, Miss USA, there's big states, there's pageant states, Texas, New York, California, Mississippi. There's pageant states. When you're a pageant girl, you know what those states are. They get more funding, they have more girls in their pageants, all of that stuff. And so Miss Universe, same thing. Pageant countries, all of the Latin countries, Venezuela, Colombia, Nicaragua, all of the Latin countries, Asian countries, big in pageants, Philippines, Japan, all of those Asian companies. So we're told as judges, do not get, do not look at this from a sash factor, right? Everybody comes in, everybody has the same opportunity to win. It doesn't matter whether they come from a big program or a small program. I personally came from a really small program. I was Miss Oregon USA in 1994. There were not that many girls in my pageant. I came from a really small program. So I like the transparency of when we're told, Paula had told us that when we were being briefed in the pageant for Miss Universe, was do not get confused about the sash factor. And then she explained that for those people that had never been part of the program and never judged before. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Right. Okay. So yes, you walked us through the process of judging in Miss Universe. So again, based on your experience, when that video was quote unquote leaked, and we heard the alleged comments about transparency and inclusion, what went through your mind when you saw that video based on your relationship with the organization?
I was mad because I know that's not the sentiment of the past leaders of the organization. And I'll say their names, Paula Shugart and Amy Emmerich. That's not their sentiment. They put this program together. They started building opportunities to make sure that the programs were inclusive, whether that you be transgender, you be a married woman, you be a woman with kids, you are a plus size girl, doesn't matter. They wanted that inclusivity. And so, and they made it. Like, look who we had in the Miss Universe. We had all diversities, right? And so as a judge, I love seeing that, right? That to me, that's a big deal. And so when you have leadership, the owners, because leadership's different in different companies, the owners sit there and say, we're going to allow these girls to compete, but they're not going to win. That angers someone like me because I don't give up my time to fly to another country to not be heard.
Right.
And my voice is that of a judge choosing. And I know that didn't happen this time. So anybody that competed at Miss Universe this year, it was fair and square. There was no judge tampering. There was no, we're not going to let you win because you're XYZ. Because Paula Shugart and Amy Emmerich made sure that happened. They told us that even if some of the ownership of Miss Universe approaches you, do not engage. Make sure that you let us know. Maybe some concerns there for that direction, but I'm not going to get into that. Right. But we were told, they even, JKN, her name's Anne, wanted Raul to be a judge, and Paula pushed back on that. And I think that needs to be noted because I want all the girls that competed. I was so angry when I saw this video because I want all the girls that competed to know that we as judges were there. We were impartial. We were fair. We knew everything was above board. We knew who was running the program. Paula and Amy were not going to let any of those girls not be seen or heard or be valued on that stage. And they were not going to let us as judges be there for no reason.
How do you think Paula and Amy are, what do you believe their reaction to this video is? How do you think they felt about, their organization? Even I don't know if they sold it or exactly how
No.
it was transferred, but how do you think? Have you heard from them? Have you?
So, Paula left the organization because of concerns. And I'm not at liberty to discuss those concerns.
Okay.
Amy, I'm pretty sure has done the same or is doing the same. I'm not 100% sure. I have not spoken to Amy. But what I do know is that both of them were concerned. I know Paula was highly concerned about the video because that's not, if I can't tell you her ethics and her morals and all of the things that she has done to build Miss Universe and Miss USA over decades, with Trump being the owner, with IMG being the owner, with really hard obstacles to jump over and problems that I know she's not happy. She can't be. You can't build an organization and build a company and then someone swoop in and tear it down in a matter of moments with this video. If I was their crisis manager, if I was Miss Universe's crisis manager, and I was directly talking to Anna Raul, I would tell you it's time to step down. Let somebody else run it, because I don't know if Miss Universe can survive. And I don't even know if Miss USA can survive because it's a subsidiary of Miss Universe. And are those practices looked at? Layla Rose, who runs Miss USA, does she agree with the practices that Anne said? Are you idly sitting by thinking that this is okay? Why have you not spoken out? Right? You have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of girls getting ready to compete in state pageants, and they saw this video. Somebody needs to say something.
Right. What would you say to these girls? Like, how do you? Okay, we're gonna get back. Let's go back into your work with the organization as a judge and as a former title holder as well. E&G is the auditing firm for the pageants while you served as a judge. Walk us through their role of making sure it's a fair pageant. Again, I will say I've competed in only 3 pageants before, and I saw a lot of things. That's why I have this platform now about integrity and transparency. I was told that there was an accounting firm. There wasn't. There was a laptop backstage. A lot of people, we are always told that there's an accounting firm. We're always told that people's choice is going to be done fairly, that voting is going to be done fairly. What was your experience with this accounting firm? And do you really believe that that these accounting firms or these accounting systems are accurate or fair?
So I don't know what system you competed in, Cynthia. It sounds like not a great system. I don't know what you competed in, but what I can tell you about Miss USA and Miss Universe and Miss Teen USA, 110. This is a business. This is a bona fide business that has been going on for decades. It's not some little hinky-dinky pageant run by mom and pop in Hunkton, Mississippi or whatever. Nothing against Mississippi.
Against Mississippi.
But I'm just saying there's a lot of really, I guess let me clear that up because I don't want anybody from Mississippi to get mad at me, there's a lot of really small pageants in southern states, not even just southern states, but around the world. And I don't know how they're run because I've never been a part of them, but I could only imagine some of them probably just like any business. This is not about pageants. This is about running a business. Not all businesses are equal, and they're not all equal on how they run. So speaking from a business perspective, I can speak to the fact that I know Miss Teen, Miss USA, and Miss Universe from a business perspective have been run above board. Moving forward, I cannot say that because I have a bit of a concern. I'm not in the organization though. Talking about Ernst & Young, let's get back to your question. Ernst & Young is probably one of the most reputable accounting firms in the world. The gentleman that was running it for both times that I did Miss USA, I can't remember because Miss Teen USA was such a long time ago, but for Miss USA, which was not that long ago, I did 2018, and Miss Universe just a few months ago. They come in they have a team of people, of accountants that come in for Ernst & Young. It's not just one person. They have their own rooms that they go to tally up the votes. They walk us through how the voting process goes, how, if there's a tie, what we have to do for a tie. They take our papers. We don't get to keep our papers. They take our papers, they add everything up. Then they come back to us and let us know if there's a tie, or they give us the top 10 or the top 20. Then we go and we keep voting, and then we turn those papers, and everything is very, again, I know I keep using this word militant. It's very structured and militant. And that, for me, I feel lucky because I've been a part of an organization that's always been above board. And what I judge was always above board, incredibly professional. I can't speak to all these other thousands of little, pageants here and there. I can only speak to the ones that I've been a part of. Have been 110% above board. And that's from the top down. That's from Paula Shugart with Ann Amy down to, there is an incredible leader that they chose with Ernst & Young to come in with his team. And, there's all checks and balances. Like there's, they got audited, and they could, right?
Right.
Somebody thought something was going wrong and they wanted to file a lawsuit and audit, they could. And their records are impeccable, like absolutely impeccable.
So there are actual records that if someone wants to question, they can go and look at and take a look and review.
No, you can't. Not anybody just to be like, hey, I want to look at it. There'd be a lot of people, right? Well, where did I place? What happened to me? I want to know where, back in the day when I competed at Miss USA, they used to put your scores up on television. They don't do that
I remember
anymore.
that.
Yeah. And, sadly, my swimsuit score was not that great, but it was a little embarrassing. I think they stopped doing it because some girls were like, hey, that doesn't feel good when I see my score up there and I didn't score high. But they used to do that. So there was a lot of transparency back then. I don't suggest that they go back to do that now, because I also think it's also a little bit of, it hurts your ego a little bit as a contestant when you're the last girl, right? Or the person that scored the least. We're all winners of our states, but when you get to the national and the international, that's a hard pill to swallow. So I don't think that that's a great idea at all to go back to, but I know there was a lot of transparency, and I think the audience was like, oh, that's the score, that's the score, that's the score. And it's in real time, so nobody can question it. Now I think there's probably a question because it's in real time as far as we're concerned on the live telecast, because we're having to move quickly, and we're told, like, we have people standing in front of us going, okay, get it in now, punch in anything.
Okay.
Go. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about transparency. You mentioned transparency a couple of times. Do you believe that this pageant industry is really ready for transparency? Because you're also a businesswoman. You are an accomplished, published businesswoman, right, in your field. You are an expert in your field. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, it's proven. I've seen the articles. Pageantry is a business, right? What if a pageant system says exactly what was allegedly said on the tape? We will let curvy women, we will let married women, we will allow transgender women, we will allow Black women, we will let all women come into our pageants and sashay on our stage, but they're not going to win. What if they made that public? What if they said openly, this is our business model, we're looking for Barbies or we're looking for brunettes, right? Isn't that transparency?
Well, that's transparency. However, it wouldn't survive, not in today's culture.
Right.
It's all about in today's culture, right? You have to be inclusive. And I'm a girl who I would probably be considered at a size 4'6", a plus size when I competed. Sadly enough, I don't think that's a plus size, but back then I was, I competed with girls that were size 0s and 2s. So I was one of the bigger girls on stage at a size 4'6". I was also back in the Twiggy days, but regardless, inclusion I think is really important. And I don't think if any business, not just the pageant business, because we're talking it as a business, does not have inclusivity, you're going to find it hard pressed to survive today in anything you do. And if you're not going to have transparency, you're just not going to survive. So I know that there have been claims that this video was manipulated. as a crisis manager, it's hard for me to see that manipulation. Although I'm not the owner of the video, and I guess it's subjective to whoever wants to view it.
Right.
But it's very concerning. And I would, if I was a contestant, I'd find it really hard to compete in the system until somebody either stepped down or brought in somebody that I knew I could trust. And today it's all about people you can trust. And that would be, I'd find it hard pressed to like really feel comfortable moving forward. And I want the pageant system to survive because I've watched it. I've watched it for decades. I was the little poor girl sitting in her room, in her front room, with only 3 TV channels because we lived out in the country. And one of the channels I got was, I get to watch Miss USA every year and then walk down in their gowns to the naval choir singing. My year was the first year we wore a 2-piece bikini on live television, 1994. Like I've been a part of the system. I want to see it survive because I know what it did for me. And it gave me so much confidence and just an ability to thrive in a world that I didn't know if I was going to survive in from where I came. So for me, it's close to home, although some leaders some owners, some leaders, higher management need to fix it. They need to, and they need to have the right people to fix it. And if I were them, I'd be running with my.
I was going to ask, you are a crisis expert. You are a PR expert.
Right. But
what would you do in this particular situation?
Yeah, I would be going after someone that I know could bring more transparency and more authenticity, and more importantly, more trust factor back to the program. And if I was them, and I know if they listen to this, they'll hate to hear this, I'd be running with my tail in between my legs back to Paula and being like, help us, help us, help us, right? People trust Paula. People know that she's above board. They know that everything she's stood for over the past decades has been above board, 110%. And she might not have the opportunity to speak out for herself, but I'm going to, and I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about how wonderful this program has been. I can't speak about any other program because I haven't been a part of it, right. But I can speak about what I've been a part of. And I know that, moving forward, I cannot speak to moving forward because I am concerned. But
I can hear it in your voice. You sound as though you were almost in leadership and ownership before it was, given, before it went to someone else.
I've been consulting behind the scenes with some of the directors, some of the girls, past and present, some of the title holders, and some people that have worked in and out of the organization. So I've been privy to a lot. And there have been issues, little issues here and there, none as big as this video that just happened, but I had been consulting, again, even some of the directors of the local pageants and some of the contestants, past and present. So my phone has rang a lot.
Can you tell us if Miss Universe can survive this? Is there a possibility? Can they really come out of this?
It can survive, but it's going to have to be under new leadership. Because tell me this, in any business that you do, and this is just aside from pageantry, if any business you lose a trust factor, if you go to the dry cleaner and they mess up your favorite shirt, are you going to keep going back to that dry cleaner in hopes they get it right the next time? Because you lost trust in them. And everything about what we do these days, I don't know about you, but about me, is I have got to trust the person. And if I cannot trust you, then I cannot work with you. So they have to get the trust factor back. And by putting out some sort of statement, the video was manipulated. Well, okay. I don't know if it was or not. I can only give my assumption. But however, it's definitely savable. But, at this point, I would be like, you know what, you're going to have to step down, Anne. We're going to need some people in there that are going to be, that the girls are going to trust, the directors are going to trust. This is business. Wow. If you want to save your business, you're going to have to get people in there that people trust. And right now, because of that video, there's not a lot of trust going on.
Well, it seems like some people in Hollywood trust you because I see here that your story rights were sold to Jennifer Anderson, right?
Oh,
can you tell us a little bit about that? And when can we see you on the big screen? Is it going to be on Netflix?
Yeah, it's actually a dramedy on Netflix. Yeah, it's a long story on how that even happened, but years ago, Men's Journal did a huge expose on me, about 7 pages, which was amazing because I had no knowledge it was going to be that long. But and then Hollywood came knocking. I have an interesting story. I was a foster child. I was raised by my grandmother. I was separated from my twin most of my life. So just start there, but then became a broadcast journalist, became
Mm.
Miss Oregon USA, opened up a sports management company. It's actually a sports management company. We handle high profile athletes, and we do crisis management for athletes and entertainers, and fell into that. And so because of the story, I was like the made for TV movie story of my life. Hollywood came knocking, and we were doing a film, and Jennifer Aniston was playing me, and now it has moved into a series for Netflix. And we're not too sure when that's going to happen, but they'll probably start filming either the end of this year or the beginning of next, because of the writer's strike, things got put on hold.
Fascinating, fascinating. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Going back to transparency, what would you like to see in the pageant world as it relates to transparency and integrity? I believe that this situation that just happened, I believe it's going to accelerate the need for real transparency, inclusivity, and integrity in this business, in this world, actually. What do you think?
I don't think you can have transparency without trust. And you have to be
Keep
able
going back to that word. You keep going back to that word.
I'm telling you, it's all about trust. And if you can't trust the people that are leading the ship or driving the ship, then you don't have a ship to drive, right? I mean, again, from Miss Universe on down, where you have this video, the trust has been broken. You have in Miss USA, you have two beautiful queens, Teen and Miss, and their trust is being wavered by the leadership, right? Poor Miss USA just got her apartment, and she was supposed to have it 5 months ago. Where's the transparency? Where's the trust?
Oh, wow.
Danny Walker, love this gal. She does videos about the pageantry, and she put this video up the other day that said, "Where's Miss USA?" Because nobody had seen her. And I was like, "Well, where is Miss USA? Where is she?" And then I realized we hadn't seen her, and she'd been asked to pay for her own travel to do appearances. And I was like, "Wait a minute, that would never happen under the watch of Paula Sugart. Like, why are the contest?" So I guess I'm saying those stories is because the concern is the leadership, right? If you cannot have trust in the leadership, it doesn't even matter about transparency. You have to trust the leadership, right?
Mm.
USA survive transparency and trust. Can Miss Universe survive transparency and trust? But you have to have leadership that we can trust.
Wow.
You have to have leadership that these young women can trust. You have to
Wow.
have leadership that these directors can trust. If they cannot trust you, you cannot have a thriving business. It will not work. And
Wow.
that's what it comes down to: trust and transparency.
Wow. Trust is the foundation of transparency.
Absolutely, 110%.
Wow.
If I can't trust what you tell me, then it doesn't matter what you tell me. You can tell me, "I'm going to get you an apartment. I'm going to get you a car. I'm going to, when you win, I'm going to get you this." But if I can't trust that you're going to actually do it, then what's the point?
Wow, you have my mind just buzzing right now because so many women who become, who capture the crown, women who win, months later, I hear them, I see them complaining that there is no support from the system. The prize package sucked. They didn't deliver on the prize package. Like you said, she received her apartment 5 months later. So before we can even discuss transparency, it's the trust of the leadership,
It's the
the
trust,
ownership.
right? If I didn't pay my employees on time, how could they trust me as their employer to want to do their work on time and effectively and efficiently if they can't trust they're even going to get paid, right? So as an employee or a contractor or a queen or whatever it is, if you cannot trust the people that are leading the organization, how do you have anything?
What can contestants look for when they want to before they sign up for a pageant, when they want to look at the trust or look into the trust, if they want to take our advice, your advice right now, and say, okay, this pageant system says they are now all, because everybody's about transparency now, right? This pageant says that they're transparent and they have integrity. What would you advise for a contestant to do when looking into the transparency and the trust of that organization?
Well, I think, listen, sometimes current queens can have a bad, look, not everybody's created equally, right?
Right.
And what someone's expectations might be are different than others' expectations. So you really have to pay attention to who's the messenger, right? So what is she getting out of this? Is she's complaining, or is she complaining because she has valid reasons? So I always like to look at past title holders. Did you have a good experience? Was your experience, was everything delivered? The one thing I'm going to say, because I found out recently, contracts is very, very important. If you compete in a pageant, you dang well better take a look at what that contract looks like if you win, and don't you dare sign it the minute you win, because you will feel pressure. You will feel pressure to sign a contract that will be one-sided, possibly,
right,
depending on what leadership is. And then you will have no recourse if that person that's leading the ship doesn't abide by the contract. So you absolutely 110% need to look at a contract once you win, and give yourself a few days, have an attorney look at the contract, a family friend that's an attorney, I don't care who it is, but have an attorney look at the contract and make sure you realize what you are signing when you get in the business of pageantry. Just like anything else, look at the contract. Have somebody else that knows contracts look at the contract. That's number one. Number two, I would say talk to people within the organization. Talk to past title holders. Talk to past leadership. Again, you can only decide whether you want to do something and participate if you think you're going to have a good experience. And more importantly, in the pageant system, there's transparency and there's trust, right? And sometimes it's earned. It's not given, meaning they have to earn it from you, right? Like, you're part of the program, but do I trust what they're saying? And that's all about, I call it deliverables. Did they deliver what they promised? What they promised? Is everything on time? Did you get what you were supposed to get? Did you did they deliver what, even when you win, did they deliver the car? Did they deliver the apartment? Did they deliver your prize winnings? Did you get your scholarship? Miss America does the scholarship stuff. Did you get the scholarship? All the stuff that was promised to you, and did you get it in a timely manner? Because that speaks to leadership. If leadership's not getting that stuff, sometimes people buy pageants or buy companies, and they really can't afford them. They think it sounds fun, think it's glamorous, it's beautiful, let's be a part of it, I want to buy this, but then they don't have the money to keep it afloat, or they don't have the money to let it survive.
Right.
And then they do this rob Peter to pay Paul stuff, and then who gets caught in the crosshairs? The poor queen, right? The title holder gets caught in the crosshairs. She's not getting what she was promised. She's not going out on appearances. She's not doing this. She's not doing that. Now, again, I'm just surmising here. I'm not saying a specific person, but you have to pay attention to what the experiences are of the title holders, what the experiences are of the people that have competed, because competing, you're not going to always, you can't just go off of one person. What was the experience of the girls that competed? Right. I would never say I didn't have a fair shot when I competed at Miss USA. What I will say is I realized I didn't have a shot because I didn't have the team around me that I needed to compete fairly, because I came from a really small state. When I got there, I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Out of my league. Miss Georgia was like 6 foot tall. Miss big around, I'm out of my league. And so I decided, back then it was 3 weeks, I was like, I'm just going to have fun. So I actually won Miss Congeniality because I just had a ball while I was there. I didn't even really think about winning. I just had a fun meeting all kinds of good friends. One of my best friends, Rayanne Johnson, well, now she's married. She was Miss Rhode Island, and Pat Smith, who was a first runner-up, Miss Virginia. They became some of my best friends, right? Best friends. So, there's a sisterhood that you get when you.
And even though we're having this conversation tonight, for those of you who are just joining, I am having a conversation with Denise White, We've been speaking about Miss Universe and all things pageantry. We just mentioned sisterhood, and like I want to also say that we are here not to bash the industry because we love the industry. We love the pageant world. The system, the sisterhood is amazing. We get to meet the most wonderful friends for life, and there's so many opportunities for growth in the pageant world. So we're not here to bash the industry. We love the industry. That's why we're having these hard conversations. Speaking about loving the pageant industry, I know the Global Beauty Awards is coming in a couple of 2 months actually. With all of these things that we're talking about in the pageant world, how can we have an award show that celebrates pageantry? Let's talk about
Well,
that.
you know, the one thing that I love about Maureen, who runs, her and David ran the Global Beauty Awards, is it's not just about who's in the prettiest gown with the prettiest tiara and things like it. It's really about, there's a huge philanthropic side to these Global Beauty Awards. There's a huge side. I always champion for the people that work in the background because I'm a background
Right.
worker. You know, what I do is usually in the background, really nobody knows about me, nobody sees me like if I was the star, right? And I'm really comfortable with that. And one thing that the Global Beauty Awards does is champion for the people that work behind the scenes. So they have awards for those people, from costume designers to best directors to there's a Denise White Award, ironically.
Yes.
A contestant or a director or somebody that works with the foster care system or has been a foster care. So it's those type of like, oh, I love that award, even if it wasn't my name on it, which I'm so humbled about, by the way. I love the fact that they give an award out for somebody that champions for, and is an advocate for the foster care system. So the Global Beauty Awards was put together by Maureen and David, and they've honored some amazing women, from Jamie Kern-Lima to Paula Sugar to Amy Emick to just some amazing women that work tirelessly behind the scenes to produce, direct, implement programs, philanthropic programs.
Okay.
And so the Global Beauty Awards is something I wouldn't miss ever, because it's just such a great award show.
Well, I heard that in addition to the award show where they're celebrating, all of these achievements, that there's also going to be a pageant summit, the very first pageant summit, where topics like transparency is going to be discussed. And I applaud it. I just love the fact that we are having these conversations. Hopefully people will come out to the pageant summit and we can continue to discuss how to modernize, I should say, the pageant world. Like you said, we have to be inclusive. What we heard allegedly on the video will not fly in today's world. You have to be inclusive.
You
So
have to be inclusive, and you have to have people be able to trust you, and nothing can survive without trust. I don't care. Transparency doesn't matter if you don't have trust, and it's vital.
every time you say that, we can go into a whole hour about trust. Oh my gosh. How do we trust? Because so many people feel like they were cheated, they should have won, this wasn't fair, that wasn't. How do we even have a trust conversation?
Right. Well, the thing with people that, when, oh, I didn't get the right this, I didn't get the right that, oh, somebody was picked ahead of me, like you can argue all those little things in your head as a contestant. I guess I never came from the pageant world. So my old roommates had been past Miss Oregon. So that's why I ended up doing it. So I never had that like, oh, I've got to be the queen thing in my head. I just thought it was something fun and cool. And they were teaching me how to do my hair and makeup. And I was like, wow, this is
right.
So, I never had that like born and bred and raised to be a pageant darling or a queen. So I think my expectations were a bit different when I competed, but I think sometimes when you get in there and you self-reflect and maybe you are out of your league. I mean, look, when you get to Miss USA and Miss Universe, it is the cream of the crop, just like in sports. You can play in college, but when you get into the NFL and you play at the Super Bowl, you're playing against stars, right?
Yes.
it's the same. I always like to bring a sports analogy to my speeches. But you're playing against the big dogs, and when you get into Miss USA and Miss Universe, you're playing against the big dogs. And sometimes there are states that feel like it's out of their league, and then as a human, you want to surmise, well, I didn't get that opportunity, or they said this about me, or they didn't put me in the front of the line, they put me in the back of the line. And trust me, that's not how you win or lose a pageant. I don't care what bikini you wore. I don't care where you were in the lineup. I don't care if you did the opportunity XYZ. We as judges don't see any of that. What we see is what we see in an interview and what we see on stage, and that's how we pick the winner. So, you have to pay attention to that, because that's, we don't, the funny thing about Miss Universe, I wanted to say this really quick. They have trackers. This past Miss Universe, they have trackers on how much airtime each contestant gets. They also have a tracker on how much social media is done on each contestant. So they are
Wow.
fair and impartial for each contestant,
What
right?
do you want to say? What do you want to say, Denise, for people who experience what you did with Miss Universe, people who love the organization, who had a good experience and heard what came out this past week? What do you want to say to those contestants who are like, oh my gosh, what happened to this organization that I loved? What happened to this organization that I felt that, I was looking forward to participating in? Because a lot of married women like myself, I competed in married pageants. There are many married contestants who wanted to be a part of this. What do you say to those women whose trust was shaken with that video that leaked?
I would apologize, but I would also say I had an amazing experience as a judge under that current leadership. I cannot speak about the leadership moving forward. All I know, though, is that when I judged, it was fair, it was impartial, it was above board. And I know that I probably could speak for every judge saying that we had a great experience, and we know the winner was the winner, and the top 20 was the top 20, and the top 5 was the top 5, and nobody influenced us at all. However, if I am a contestant looking at that video, I can understand how worried and concerned you could be. And but I also want to let you know that those words that came out of Anne's mouth and Raul and the people in that room were not the words that we lived by during that pageant. And they are not the words and the thought process of Paula Sugar or Amy Emmerich or anybody that was running the program at that time. Moving forward, I can't guarantee you what happens moving forward. All I know, though, is I think there needs to be a big change.
And with that, we will end this evening's conversation. I would love to invite you back at another time for another conversation. Thank you so much for your time, your insights. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
It was a pleasure speaking with you too.
Thank you, Denise. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.